Come to the Salty Dog Museum.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Mark Radke to the Salty Dog Museum. My partner and I started the museum back in 2012 after a career in racing at the Bonneville Salt Flats. My partner, who passed away in September of 23, came to me in 2007 and said, how about going racing? Well, look at me, I'm too big to race, but I can sure build a race car. So he and I flew out to the Bonneville Salt Flats in 2007, got an idea what we're getting into. The Bonneville Salt Flats is in Utah, and it's owned by the federal government. It's called a National Recreation Area. And ever since right after World War II, 47, 48, the returning GIs, were pent up, they're getting married, having babies, building houses, maybe in a different order, and going racing. So this Bonneville Salt Flats is run by the Southern California Timing Association. So again, Ron and I flew out there, got an idea what we're getting into, and came back, and Ron had started the machine shop here about 35 years ago. And we rented the front part of this. I think we paid $200 a month. And we built a purpose-built land speed racer. And it's a 1930 Ford. You'll see it later on in the video. And in 2008, we had the car finished, and we trailered out. There were 4 of us from here. And we raced for a solid week, and we took our first world record in 2008. We went back in 2010, took another world record. And then the last time we went out in 2012 and took a 3rd world record. So as they say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So we decided, let's get some different results, and Ron and I formed the Salty Dog Museum. So we did this in 2012. It's a nonprofit, they call it a 501c3. So it's nice, we can take contributions and we don't pay taxes. So I will introduce you to the museum, if that's fine, and we'll continue on here. Jamie, when we get through the door, would you please hang a left? Okay. So this is the shop area that we rented in 2008 to build the car, actually 2007. You'll see the car here in a minute. This is a photograph of the car, but we built the car. We spent a lot of time. And this is us racing here. We're getting it set up at the starting line. It's extremely warm out there. You can get up to 105 during the day and down in the 50s at night. So it has wide swings of temperature. And therefore, it poses a problem for racing because it changes the, let's call it the combustion ratio. It's actually called the stoichiometric ratio. But we learned a lot from racing out there, had a lot of fun. And as I said earlier, after our 3rd world record, we decided to go to the museum. So if you'll follow me, we're going to go see the collection. Oh, there's a flag. And Jamie, if you want to go through here, honey. All right, thank you. And this is the beginning of our collection. We collect a lot of Fords. I don't know how we got stuck on Fords. Probably because they were A, plentiful, and B, cheap. And C, maybe easy to find parts for. So we have some very early cars here that we've collected and restored. These, for obvious reasons, are called high-wheelers. And some circles call them horseless carriages. We have a 1902 Holzman built in Chicago. Henry Holzman was an architect. He decided he could make some additional monies by starting a car company. So I believe Henry started this in '02. This is an '02 example. This was found in an old barn out in Indiana. It was totally restored. It runs, it drives. It's an interesting car to drive. This is called a tiller. Obviously, it takes care of the steering. You get a beautiful horn. That means get out of my way. There are a couple accessories on here. Even back in '02, you could buy a bare bones car and then buy accessories. One of the accessories was the folding top. The other accessory were these lanterns. These are called wrist lanterns. They have a handle, and as you pulled into your barn, now remember, 1902, there wasn't a house that had electricity, so you would carry this lantern from the barn into the house to light the way. The other accessory were these hooks. Jamie, got an idea what these hooks were for? What do you think?
I don't know.
Giddy up?
Yeah, so that's...
So horses have, I think, leather traces. These are kind of sketchy. So you would hook the leather traces and pull this thing home should something happen. Gasoline back then was not sold in a filling. We didn't have filling stations in 1902. We had these. So you would take your own container to an apothecary or a hardware store. And out back outside, they would have a bulk tank of gasoline. They would fill a 1 gallon can or a 5 gallon can and pour it in the car. In this case, the gasoline tank for this car, the filler is right here. Right here. So this holds about 5 gallons in the back of the seat. This is long before any safety organization was thought of on collisions or whatever. But it's a really nice example of early motorized, horseless cars. High-wheeler. We have a shot. It's made in Cincinnati, Ohio. These were made by 2 German boys. I think one was Gustav and the other one was William. And they came over from Germany on the boat, and they set up an automobile plant on Spring Grove Avenue. So what was the only other automobile manufactured in Cincinnati? You ever hear Crosley? Powell Crosley? Crosley Field? So Powell Crosley made an automobile. Technically, it was not made in Cincinnati. Powell was in Cincinnati, but it was made in Marion, Indiana. But this is a shot. I know it's not, it doesn't spell that way. But it's, again, another horseless carriage. They built quite a few of these. They built almost 90, 256. So, but now this one's got a steering wheel. This is an '08. The Holzman's an '02. So you can see a little bit of the evolution. Excuse me. And always like the horns. I don't know why I am about the horns. That sounds like a Bozo the Clown horn. And our third horseless carriage is a, what is this, a 1911 Sears motor buggy. No, Sears didn't manufacture anything. They were a marketing company. You know, Sears, Kenmore, Craftsman, they made they marketed mowers. This was another horseless carriage made by another independent company in Chicago. But they sold a bunch of these. Sears even had a separate catalog for their automobiles. You would pick out this from a catalog, you'd pick it out, you'd send 50% upfront payment. You would get a telegram. Hey, your car is going to be at such and such railway depot on such and such a date. Bring the rest of the money, a horse, carriage, gasoline, and some tools. So you would take your horse, pull on a buckboard with your gasoline and tools, and you would go and uncrate this car, put the wheels on it, some other accessories, and then you would leave, and this would be pulling the horse and buckboard. Pretty revolutionary. They built a ton of these. Very dependable, and this runs and drives. It has not been restored like the other two, but it's a very unique piece of early motorized evolutionary history. Sears motor buggy. This was found in a collapsed barn in a little town called Riley, Ohio. You know where this is. And we've not done a whole lot. We did a lot of work to the engine. But this is our lone Chevrolet. This is a 55 Chevrolet. Excuse me. 2-door sedan. Ron, my deceased partner, restored this. And Ron was a really interesting cat. But Ron had a a right foot. Two positions, all the way down and all the way up. So this is on its fourth engine. Ron was a little tough on the engines, but it's a beautiful car, and it lives on here at the Salty Dog Museum. We can walk through this, kids. We have a lot of Model Ts. Henry Ford built his first Model T in 1908, sold it as a 1909. He manufactured 15 million Model T Fords in 19 years. The only other car mark that exceeded the production of the Model T Ford was the Volkswagen Beetle. The Beetle took longer for its production than Ford, but it was more units. So this literally put America on wheels. This car in its height of sales was around 1922-23. They made 2 million of them each year. And they drove the cost down to about $240, which is about, I think it's around $23,000 today. That'd be a cheap car today, wouldn't it? Yeah. This is a Maxwell. We found this in a garage, and it's a lake here down here in southern Indiana, lake community, Hidden Valley Lake. And it was a mess, and we restored it. And again, you can see the steering wheel is on the right-hand side of the vehicle. Yeah. There is no reason, no explanation for that. All right? But we restored this about 5 or 6 years ago. It is a beautiful horn also. So we'll probably the best horn in the house. We have a 34 Ford here. We call our our Bonnie and Clyde car. In 32, Ford went from a 4-cylinder Model T, they went to a 4-cylinder Model A, and then they brought out a flathead V8. They skipped the 6-cylinder. This was a very fast car. This is a car that the moonshiners would outrun the revenue agents because it was faster than the local government cars or the federal revenuers. So this was a fun little car to drive. Notice it has suicide doors. Why do we call these suicide doors? Well, for some reasons they can fly open and you fly out. Okay? They open opposite. Very nice original condition. It's been repainted once, but it has original mohair upholstery. Beautiful car. We've got a mannequin of Ron. Little history of Ron. Ron started as an agent for Shell stations, a Shell gas station over on Erie Avenue in Hyde Park. He was only 17 years old. He was the youngest person to own a Shell franchise in the United States at that time. So Ron pumped gas, worked on cars, and then eventually started a machine shop dedicated to the restoration of antique car engines. So it doesn't look much like Ron, but maybe when he was 20 years old or 17. So we have a lot of Model A's here. Model A's came after the Model T's. Model T's, again, were manufactured 08, sold in 09, and up through 27. In 1928, Ford brought out the Model A, and they made those for 4 years, 28, 29, 30, and 31. And then in 31, they brought out the V8, as I was saying earlier. So in 31, and 32, you could buy a 4-cylinder or a flathead V8. This had 40 horsepower, the Model A. The Model T had 20 horsepower. So this is double the fun. And I have a number of Model A's. These are all beautiful restorations of Model A's. After the Model A's came, like I said earlier, the flathead V8s. And Ford didn't bring an overhead valve V8 until about 1953. So they kept this flathead for many, many years. Very durable engine. Something I can show you on early automobile personalization. So these are all period accessories. Everybody wanted to individualize their cars. This does nothing. This rotates while you're driving, and the prop rotates. But it just personalizes. Here's a Model T. This is called a Roadster pickup. top goes down. As we say, top goes down, price goes up. But this has an American Eagle. This is called a motometer. So you can see the temperature when you're driving to see when you're going to overheat. Not if you're going to overheat, but when you're going to overheat. Yeah. Again, this is a selection of Model Ts. And you know, Henry had a saying, you can buy a Model T in any color, as long as it's black. There's one year, excuse me, that Ford made the red, and it was 1911 they made a red color. So, but again, these are Model Ts that we've collected. This is a 1929 Model A over here, and this is a roadster pickup. Now this would be a farm truck. This is a very cheap vehicle in its day. So you would use this as a pickup truck, utilitarian duty, haul the pigs to the market or the sheep to the market, and this whole top will come off and you can just keep it off. But it was a very inexpensive car. We restored this about 4 years ago. And again, it's got some personalization that means absolutely nothing, but it identifies your car maybe in a crowded parking lot. This is a 1-ton Model T truck, 1923. Probably does a top speed of about 25 miles an hour. Yeah. And it's a heavy duty. Again, we talked about personalization. These are period correct, original sunscreens. Yeah. 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 Some of these are fairly rare accessories that we collect through the years. But it's an early, you know, it beat the horses, okay? Yeah. A 1-ton Model T truck. Very slow, but pretty powerful. We have a couple of campers. We had these given to us. This is a camper that's built from plans in the back of Popular Mechanics. It's called a teardrop camper. This has gotten very, very popular today, where there's a number of companies putting these out on a mass production. This is hand built out of plywood. Early 60s, yeah. In 2006, my partner B.J. Miller, who is Ron's son, B.J. and Casey got married. They hooked this camper up to a 30 Model A, and they went up through Canada for 2 weeks on their honeymoon. Yeah. So this has a very close quarters sleeping area, and then it has a kitchen back here. And the kitchen consists of ice box, and then you had a gas stove that would be up here in various places for your cutlery and plates and whatnot. But it's pretty functional. Yeah. Yeah. Now this contrasts with a camper we have here from the early teens. I would say 1915 through 1925, the Model T era. You can see how rugged this is. This folds up, has wooden spoke wheels, and you have, of course, all the comforts of, you know, sleeping out in the wild. You had to have a still, you had your record player, your gas stove, and your cutlery plate kit there. Yeah. A little bit of difference, huh? Yeah. Again, we have more Model Ts in. Ron loved to build hot rods. So these are hot rods that are very, very quick, acceleration, and very fast. He's raced one of these. There's a race over in the beach in New Jersey, the Race of Gentlemen. And I think Ron had, this one down here at the race. It's a pretty well-known race called Trog, the Race of Gentlemen. Race on the beach. So he loved to go fast. This is our Salt Flats car here. You get an idea how big or small this thing was. It's, again, purpose-built for what's called land speed racing. So this car would race on one of 4 tracks at the salt deposits outside of Utah. And this track would have been 4 miles long. This salt flats is huge land mass. It's the only place on the face of the earth where I can stand here. We're on the salt. Jamie, you're in your car and you drive away from me. What happens at 14 miles? I can't see you. You have met the curvature of the earth. You disappear. But it's the only place where it's that flat. Now, you can see this on the ocean. I can stand here, you get on that cruise ship to Tahiti, and at 14 miles, you pretty much disappear. But this is on land. So we had a lot of fun doing this for 3 times. Again, it's purpose-built. Everything on here is very special. It has fire suppression system for the engine, fire suppression system for the driver. It is extremely tight. To get into this vehicle, like a lot of race cars, you remove the steering wheel. There's a process to get in. You are timed on a bailout procedure. Should something seriously occur, like a fire, or you roll over and you have to bail out. This is obviously a roll cage that has X-ray welds. It is a very special piece of equipment. Again, we built this here. Took us about a year to build. This is a homemade, we built this fuel injection system that used to have carburetors. The rules will let you have some latitude on carburation and what you can do to the engine. A lot of rules in racing. They don't want you to get hurt. Again, roll cage has a roll cage on the bottom to protect your bottom half, your legs, your feet, whatnot. Then the gasoline is carried in the back. And it has to look like this, has to look like a 1930s vintage oval track. VOT is the class, and the engine class is vintage 4-cylinder flathead. So this embodies all of the early racing mechanics. But it's really what started the museum. And then we have some other vintage race cars. These cars hanging up on the wall are also motorized, they're gasoline powered, but they're kiddie cars. They're kiddie cars. The faces, we call it the crowd, watching the cars race are all friends of the museum.
So the ones hanging up actually are drivable for kids?
Oh yeah, I can't fit. I tried to, but they're for kids. They have little gasoline engines in them. They were gifted to us by a friend of ours. Yeah.
That is so neat.
Yeah, they're cute.
Yeah.
And these are all our friends. Some of these people are deceased. Ron is over here.
Okay.
Second from the left with the big grin. Yeah. Yeah, he and I, that's what started it. He really had the germ of the idea. Yeah. Well, we ready to see some big toys?
Yes.
We're going to go through this door here, Jamie, and you're going to follow the sidewalk to another door. I'm going to open this up and then go through the other door. Oh, look at this. All right, we're going to enter the next building here. I got it, Mark. Thank you. Thursdays and Saturdays are our hours of operation, but we're generally working also, and then we have scheduled visits. Go ahead in, kids. So this is where we keep the bigger toys. In 1984, I purchased my first fire truck. It was in Cincinnati in a children's shoe store. I was walking by the shoe store, I said, oh, that's pretty cool. So I went in and did a deal, purchased it, moved that out a couple months later. And of course, you know, it's like potato chips. You can't have one fire truck. Can you, Jeff? No. Jeff has 4 of them, maybe 5, I don't know. And these are fire trucks that we've collected through the years. This happens to be a 1917 Aaron's Fox. Now, Aaron's Fox was a very iconic manufacturer of fire trucks in Cincinnati. And this is a very, very unique piece of equipment that basically this beam goes up in the air. It extends up to 55 feet high. Other pumpers connect to it, and it disperses water up high. So this is 1917, kind of the beginning of high-rise buildings. So this is the attempt to get the water up outside, up on top of the building, instead of having firemen pull hose inside and possibly expose themselves to greater peril. It has a tillerman in the back that steers the rear wheels so it can go around sharp corners in downtown cities. There's a little pad there, and the fireman would steer from the back, and then one would steer from the front. Yeah. This was built in Cincinnati. It was actually built as two pieces. This was horse-drawn originally, 1896, and then later on in 1917 coupled to an Aaron's Fox tractor. Tractor is the front part of it. It has a motor, engine. Yeah, different. Now watch your head through here because there's all kinds of things we can bump ourselves on. This is my first fire truck, as I was talking about earlier, that I purchased it in 1984. And I spent almost 20 years restoring this. Originally, this was a horse-drawn unit. So this is this rig when it was horse-drawn. And it had a gasoline pump in the back, horsies up front. 1914, built in Indianapolis, Indiana. In 1919, they cut the front horsey part off and bolted it all onto a Model T truck. They used this, they being this little town, Morristown, Ohio, used this all the way up to 1948.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been back to the town with the truck and we've exhibited. Best part about these old trucks? I love my sirens.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of the old fire trucks they're called hand crank sirens instead of electric. They were eventually electrified. A lot easier pushing a button, cranking that thing. 1919. We have a number of other. This is another Aaron's Fox, and it was built for the city of Bellevue, Kentucky. Bellevue, little town south of here on the Ohio River. And they used this up to about 1940. This replaced horse-drawn fire apparatus. Yeah, little Bellevue, Kentucky. Over the years, we've been gifted some other apparatus. This one over here with all the wooden ladders is from Ashtabula, Ohio. In 2018, Ashtabula called us and said, listen, we've got this 58-foot-long fire truck. We tried giving it to Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Ohio. Dearborn, Michigan. They turned us down. Would you guys like it? And it was in February, very cold. So we drive up there. Boy, it's like 4.5, 5 hours to get from here to Ashtabula. And they had this running, and I said, game over, we'll take it. We sent a truck for it, and I put some new tires and brakes on it, but as you can see, it's got its original patina. Be careful. And this was made by a company called Seagrave in Columbus, Ohio. Now, Seagrave has since moved up to Clintonville, Wisconsin. They've been up there since '63. But this runs and drives. Again, it has let's call this a tiller person in the back here, steering the back wheels, and then a person up front driving. I think it's got about a dozen, they call these ground ladders. So you pull these ladders off, put them up against the building to save the damsel in distress. This is called a life net. One of those is hanging up here. These are only good to 3 stories. And it takes 10 men to hold this life net up while somebody's trying to jump. And there's a dot on the other side, either a black or a red dot. And you gotta jump to hit that dot. Yeah. But this is an interesting rig. Like I said, it's made by Seagrave at that time in Columbus, Ohio. We have its sister or brother. This is the pumper that's served with this. Now, This is one of our recent restorations. This is a 1930. This is a 1929. We found this up in Sugar Creek, Ohio. It was a mess, and we spent about 3 years restoring it. But it's a really nice example. If you want to go this way here, Jamie, and then we'll go up this little aisleway here. There's some interesting details. This is decorated just as it was decorated in 1929, and it had this American Indian. Seagrave loved to put some kind of symbol on the hood. They often used American Indians. The symbol over here, and it's hard to see on the aerial, is a steamship. And it's bringing in iron ore to the port of Ashtabula. Ashtabula is a port city on Lake Erie. But we did some research on this old gentleman here, and his name is Chief Broken Arm. And Chief Broken Arm was the chief of the Nez Perce Indians in Oklahoma in 1804. So we drilled down in him, for him, through the Smithsonian Institute, and recreated a likeness. His image hangs as a oil painting in the Smithsonian. So there's a local father-son that did all the decoration. The decoration is 23 karat gold, or gold leaf that's laid down, pinstriping, and then various artwork. Yeah, but this is done just exactly like it came out of the factory in 1929 in Columbus, Ohio. Nice. These fire trucks had large engines, and they were purpose-built engines. Purpose-built means it wasn't an automobile engine, wasn't a truck engine, it was a fire truck or fire apparatus engine. Yeah. We've decided not to restore this. We think the original finish, or people call it patina, well represents how it used to look. This thing runs great. It holds oil and water, which is a great thing, being almost 100 years old, at least 95. Yeah.
I think it's really nice that you're able to get both partners of the same fire department
Yep.
back in that heyday to get
Yep.
back together for one last time.
This is a little Rio. This came from, it's called Van Buren Township, but eventually became Kettering, Ohio. Rio stands for Ransom Eli Olds. Oldsmobile. So Ransom sold out in 1903 to a guy named Bill Durant. Bill Durant single-handedly put together General Motors. So after Ransom sells out, he wants to start another car company. Well, he couldn't call it Oldsmobile. Mr. Durant would sue him, so he called it Rio. This is a Rio Speedwagon. Not REO. The band, REO Speedwagon, stole the name from a vehicle like this. The Speedwagon means it's a truck, and if you look closely at this emblem, you will see this emblem is the same as REO Speedwagon, the band. Yeah, it's the wings. Yeah. But it's a nice little truck, runs great, and we use it for a lot of parades.
Also for shuttle services when the Strawberry Festival comes up.
Yeah.
It works with the general over there.
This is an Aaron's Fox that we inherited. This came from the Vanderbilt people down at the Biltmore Castle Estate. And they bought it in 1926 as protection for the Biltmore Estate. It served its whole life at the Biltmore, and we were able to take care of it, and the museum now owns it. It runs, drives, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. As I said, Aaron's Fox was a manufacturer of fire apparatus in Cincinnati. They were also the first manufacturer of horse-drawn steamers in 1873. So they really brought firefighting to the United States through here in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is also notable in starting the first professionally paid fire department in the United States. Oh, wow. Prior to that, fires were put out by basically gangs of firefighters. There's a movie called Gangs of New York, and in there is a lengthy scene of competing firefighters coming upon a burning tenement building. And the first thing they do is get into a fight because whoever got to put out the fire got paid. So, building's burning down, these firefighters, in their garb, their hats, their helmets, whatever, are fighting it out. So there's a guy named Miles Greenwood in Cincinnati. He owned a company called Eagle Iron Works. He was an industrialist. And he got behind the movement and probably paid a lot to have this, with city council, a first paid professional fire department in the United States. So we have a couple of firsts here.
Nice.
Yeah. Again, we have some more Aaron's Foxes. Aaron's Fox was not a prolific manufacturer in terms of the numbers they produced. American La France probably outproduced Aaron's Fox 10-1. But what Aaron's Fox had was quality. It was built by a lot of German engineers here in Cincinnati, and it was a really, really fine piece of equipment. You see in Omaha, Nebraska, American La France. This is an Aaron's Fox that we acquired, and I'll show you the picture and the condition that we acquired it, so you can see what we can do here. And this is the way we brought it in on our trailer back in 2018. Yeah, it was a mess. And it's from Norwood, Ohio. And they bought this new in '24. I think they sold it in 1974. But it was called the Rolls-Royce of firefighting. And it's a beast. You want to hear the siren on this? Huh? You don't want to hear it?
No.
Okay. It's deafening.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, I don't want to
Definitely.
hear it.
All right. But it's a beautiful, and it's restored exactly how it came from the factory. We had a lot of help, documentation on how it was decorated, the plating. This is all nickel plating here. And firefighters and cities put a lot of money in it. These were very expensive back then. They're very expensive today. But they wanted to be identifiable. They wanted to have it personalized. So they would specify what they wanted done. This is a General St. Louis. This was given to us, excuse me, by a friend of mine, Brenda Benzar. It was obviously built in St. Louis. It's a unique piece of equipment, great running machine, and we use this a lot in parades and the Strawberry Festival here in Shandon.
If you're not going to be here to hear the Norwood go off, you can. I believe, Mark, you're taking that over to the
This will be the Reds opening day Finley
Yeah.
Market Parade.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll have it running there.
This is a second Aaron's Fox from Bellevue, Kentucky. This is a 1940, and this replaced the one we saw earlier, the 1918. By this time in Aaron's Fox's life, they had sold the company to a company called LeBlanc Shack. Now, LeBlanc was a machine tool manufacturer. They ended up making a lot of parts for Aaron's Fox, and I think they got a little indebted to Aaron's Fox and ended up assuming the control of manufacturing. Shat was a manufacturer here in Cincinnati, built that little Shat car we saw earlier. They also built trucks. So they combined and built these for about 10 years. This was gifted to us by a friend of mine, Tom Recton, over in Bellevue, Kentucky. This is a little 1920 Model T Ford from Dayton, Ohio. Of course, Dayton was a lot smaller than Cincinnati, and obviously you needed smaller equipment to put out the fires. But it's a cute little rig. We've done a little work to it. Runs, drives, you can take this out and, you know, tour Shandon.
That is neat.
Yeah. This is a hose cart here. What does a hose cart do? Well, it's hand pulled. It'll hold up to about 1,200 feet of 2.5-inch hose. You got to remember, early 1900s did not have an infrastructure of hydrants, so we're drafting, sucking water out of ponds, rivers, cisterns, whatever water source we could find. And often that was hundreds and hundreds of feet away. So you needed lots of hose. So this would be hand pulled, probably by about 10 men, and then they would lay out the hose from the pumper to the actual fire. You want to see some cool parts that we have here?
Yes.
We'll see some cool parts. We're going to go through these doors here, and it's a little narrow. Jamie, I'm going to go ahead of you because I'm going to turn some lights on. So, oh, they're on. Great. I'm sorry.
Yes, they were looking into that engine for the ladder truck.
So this is our parts department. Last year we inherited 32,000 Aaron's Fox parts from a collector up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we added on a little addition, and these are the parts. I mean, I can't say we have everything to build a fire truck, but we have a lot. We have a lot of records from Aaron's Fox, and we have a lot of drawings from Aaron's Fox.
Oh, wow.
These are early drawings. There's 19,400 drawings, original drawings. So I'll drag out a drawing here. And this is a drawing for a bell. And this drawing was made in 1909, in March. So this gives you the dimensions on how to build a bell for a particular fire engine. And this was special for Baltimore, Maryland. So in this collection of drawings, I found a drawing here. I don't know where it is, but it's a leather horse blanket. I was telling you earlier that Aaron's company before Aaron's Fox built these steamers. Now these steamers were pulled generally by 3 horses to the fire. Well, what's coming out of the air at a fire?
Fire.
Cinders, fire. So these were special horse blankets. They had 2 little holes for their ears. And they would protect the horses at the fire.
Oh.
Yeah, well, horses were very valuable, and they were very expensive to keep. And they were kept in stalls at the firehouse. So when an alarm went off, these horses heard the alarm. They got out of the stalls. They would back up into position. A harness system would descend. A fireman would lower the rope, descend out of the ceiling, would go over the horses. They would have these horses buckled up in seconds out the door.
Wow.
We had, and we still do have great technology. This is over 120, 140 years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we collect parts, and there's some early tools here. I'm going to show you just a couple, because this stuff is really medieval looking. Okay. Yeah. This is a tool. I'm not a fireman, but this is a tool to rip up roofs. They still do this today to ventilate the structure to help fight the fire. That is one medieval looking thing. This is a typical fireman's axe. Again, you got the cutting blade, and oh boy, we can poke a hole in anything here. A ripping point, typical, still made today. What's some other things here? Small axes, big axes. I think that's the only really neat thing there was. We have some smaller axes here. Again, these were carried on the either steamers or early motorized. And again, it's for ripping up roofs, walls, whatever. Make sure we get the fire out. So we have a lot of stuff.
Nice.
Plus we have records here for all the Aaron's Foxes produced. These are called builder's records. So we can go here and, oh my. Let's go to Arlington, New York. We'll pick this one out here. And this is a build sheet for 1931 Arlington Fire District in Poughkeepsie, New York. And this goes through, this is the contract that the mayor, the city manager, whomever would sign, saying, hey, we want to buy this truck for so many dollars. And here's the specifications. This is all original. These aren't copies. I don't think they had copy machines back then. They had carbon paper. So we have the records for every Aaron's Fox built. Crazy, ain't it?
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
So we're kind of the the keeper of the flame here. Nice. Get it? Nice. Keeper of the flame? I just made that up. Yeah, I hope it's not flame. We have everything monitored by smoke and heat detectors. So, yes. Yeah. But this is what's left of Aaron's Fox. And Aaron's Fox, a very iconic brand. We have company records. We have payroll records. Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. And be quite honest, there's things that we don't even know what we have. But we help other restorers out with parts. We sell some parts, and we want other people to succeed in this hobby. Yeah. Okay, lead the way there.
Want to show them the workshop?
We're going to go to the workshop.
All right.
Thank you, Jamie.
So over here in the workshop, Mark and the rest of the team have been working on this for the past couple of years now. It is a 1915 Aaron's Fox fire engine.
Garion is one of our volunteers, and I have other volunteers here hard at work. And,
oh God, get up! Everybody looks busy.
Hi Howard, how are you? I waved to you.
I know, I saw you. I brought stuff.
So this right here is the pump. That's
So
when you mount it right
this is
on
a
top
pump
of
to a 1915 Aaron's Fox that was gifted to us by Woodbury, New Jersey. So it was built new in 1915 here in Cincinnati, shipped up to Woodbury, New Jersey, and it remained there until, oh my, when did we pick this up?
Oh,
Maybe.
You really don't want to know, do you?
Geez, Howard, I forget.
21.
2021, we've had this thing. And it takes a lot of work, and we only work on this part-time. But Monday, 2 days from today, a father-son team that has decorated other fire trucks and then will come in here and decorate it. They did part of the frame here year ago? Yeah. Year ago. And they'll complete it this coming week.
Remember what Mark said about how the engines of the fire engines are, well, specially made?
This particular one has hard rubber tires. They hadn't invented balloon tires to hold the weight yet. So these are hard rubber tires. We had these remade. Yeah. And we're waiting on an engine. The engine fits right in here. And then the pump goes out to the front. Aaron's Fox always put their pumps out to the front. And in their sales literature, they claimed it was driving to the water. Right, guys? Howard knows. Jeff knows. Nick knows. And Aaron's Fox also put the steering on the right-hand side. And their claim to fame on this was that we can see the hydrants when they're brought out hydrants, and we can see the curves because they're looking straight down. Yeah. Yeah. These are all parts. We've been working on this for years. This is the pump. This is a 750 gallons per minute pump. And we've completely refurbished this. It has new valves in here. Those are called hockey pucks. There's 42 of them in there. And then this sits on top of a transmission. And then the whole kit and caboodle goes out front.
Goes out front with the engine, yep.
Very complicated machine, very durable. As I said earlier, there's been a number of books written about Aaron's Fox, and they called it the Rolls Royce of fire apparatus. Yeah.
He had just finished.
This is where all the magic happens, right, guys?
Nice.
These are my friends Jeff, Howard, Nick, Brody, Carter. What's your name? Brooklyn. Yeah, Brooklyn.
Say hello to the viewers.
Just the store, they are still operational.
Fisheye, look.
He's my welder,
Yeah, every year,
and
Left you a fisheye blooper
Brittany
again.
does my upholstery.
orders the lake. And every year, Mark takes one of his fire engines
So-
over there.
What do a fisheye lens bluebird the end?
Over there, and they pump. Yeah, he uses
So no, they help us quite a bit. Nick and his father Jeff own 4 fire trucks. Yeah, 4 fire trucks. Howard has owned rigs through his life.
Fortunately, don't.
Brody is assistant chief of Norwood Fire Department. Brody acts as our acquisitions manager. So he finds a lot of these rigs, and we go ahead and find them and procure them.
No, you kids plan on, do you guys want to be firemen, firewomen when we grow up?
Nick is, and his dad retired after 40 years.
Oh, nice.
40 years in the fire service. Howard, you had how many years?
25.
25. Brody, you're on to what, 22?
No, I was 22 at Norwood, 27 altogether.
Oh, wow. Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you short there, buddy. Yeah.
So what areas do we have? We have Norwood and where else?
Milford.
Milford,
Oh,
Healthy.
Mount Healthy,
okay.
Springfield Township.
Wow,
Yeah.
You
nice.
won't believe how often
Yeah.
they find amazing fire engines that used to operate in the local area, or even more impressive, how they sometimes able to find him. Last year, that big donation he received, one of the fire engines in that donation was a 1950 Ahrens Fox that used to operate in Mount Healthy.
Nice.
Which Nick has taken it over, and he is doing great repairs to it.
Nice.
Trying.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it.
Snowballing.
Well, the things happen. Things happen. One of the worst things to happen to old equipment, so as your fire apparatus, it just sits. When it sits, it rots. Right, Nick? Yeah. So Nick is trying to turn back the hands of time and to correct all that. So he brought some parts out today that we hammered on, torched on, whatever we did. Yeah. Helping. Yeah, we like to help. Any questions from the gallery?
Could you tell us your day and your opening hours?
Oh, we're here on Thursdays and Saturdays. Thursdays from about 9:30 till 4, and Saturdays from 8 to 4. Yeah.
And then do you
And
have a website?
We have a website. It's called thesaltydogmuseum.com. And there is a telephone number. We appreciate people that schedule, much like yourselves, appointments. It's a working restoration shop, so my hands are a little dirty today. So we're doing things. You can see how busy they are on hammering things back into proper alignment, painting, plating, yeah. But we have our moments. We do. It's fun. It's fun. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
This is a hobby. We don't sell. Sometimes we buy rigs, but generally they're gifted to us. And then we don't do all the restorations. Some of the restorations are done off-site. We have 2 vehicles being restored by a firm in Philadelphia that specializes in a very narrow window of time of equipment. So,
You're referring to the horse-drawn steam.
yeah, the horse-drawn steamers, right? There's 2 of them up there. Yeah.
And not just that, we also every now and then bring in. Mark also brings in every now and then a vehicle to add to display over with the model.
For the automobiles, yeah, I go back and forth between automobiles, and
Yeah.
I think we just bought another horseless carriage, didn't we, Brody? Yes.
Oh, wow.
Did you call him? Oh, okay. So,
I mean, aside from this
Yeah.
Ahrens Fox, for the past few years, he's also been working on a 1932 Chrysler.
oh yes, that's not here.
Not
We're
yet.
working on it.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. It will be here.
It will be soon.
Yeah, we can't do it all, but we do a lot. Yeah.
One more question. What's your website?
What's that? Oh,
Website?
it's called thesaltydogmuseum.com. Just Google that, and we'll come up very close to the beginning. And yeah, and that there's a lot of information about myself, Ron Miller, and the history of the museum. We're a young museum, but we're a very active museum, and we're blessed with a lot of volunteers. So, and good folks like you that have an interest in coming through and learning a little bit about our history and the history of this technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jared. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
I hope you learned something today.
Hopefully the viewers, you guys learned some at home.
Do you want, Jared?
Hope you the viewers learned some from home.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll walk out. Do you kids want to do a shout out after our walk out? Say, come to
the Salty Dog.
Yeah, we need to have you come to the Salty Dog Museum.
I think Carter and Brooklyn ought to do that.
All right, let me walk out. Like the viewers are walking out, they'll come right back. We'll do it.
Grandpa, I'll help you. Carter, let's follow Jared. Jared, possibly in front of the graphic we have right here.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Well, yeah. Carter,
Go to the Salty Dog Museum.
To the Salty Dog Museum.